Colorado and Oregon faced off this weekend, and it wasn't pretty by any means. Colorado lost 42-6. Besides the point that we saw Colorado finally face a really good team in Oregon, what I find interesting is actually what Oregon's head coach said. Dan Lannings commented during his pregame speech. They're fighting for clicks, talking about Colorado, while we're fighting for wins, and he made it.
It's personal.
Thank you, Deion. It was personal, but not personal enough because they didn't play to the hype.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one, right? So I'm going to take multiple angles here. One is if I'm an 18 or 19-year-old kid and I'm going to go play for anybody, I never would have expected myself to go to play to Colorado, but now that Deion's there, that's probably a top 4 or 5 choice, right? So
at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, definitely at the and I mean it's still Pac-12, right? So like still Power 5 football as of right now. Now I don't know what those conferences are going to look like, but look, Deion has been out there changing people's lives. And I don't mean just players. He brought like administration, compliance officers, athletic trainers from Jackson State to Colorado. So Deion has the utmost respect on this podcast. However, with the way that those two teams were going to match up, them being ranked 19 is a disservice for the University of Colorado, right? They were set up to fail this week by playing an established Oregon team that is fighting to get into the playoff, if not compete for a national championship. So it was kind of like they were set up to fail, and I don't necessarily think that Colorado is playing for clicks. I wouldn't even go that far. Sure, if I was in that locker room, yeah, it might get me hype. It's not going to get me as hype as rocking those Oregon uniforms. So I did think that like the speech was a little on the weak side, but let's be honest here. People are going to have their way with Colorado this season. When Prime starts getting his recruits, they're going to be
might be a different story. Yeah,
it's going to be a completely different story. Those guys that were going to Oregon might not be going to Oregon anymore. So they can have their fun with Deion now all they want. It's not going to last long.
And you know what it's going to be?
It's personal.
It's going to be personal. And if he takes an SEC or an ACC job, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, do they do it for clicks? Yeah, I think partially. I think that's part of it. That's what it's designed for. Is it terrible in my opinion? No, not at all. That's the day and age we're in, and he playing the transfer portal is ruffling a lot of feathers. But once again, that's where we are. NIL territory, uncharted. That's where we are, though. He's playing by the rules. You can't fault him for that. But you're right, Dean. They better get him this year because if he keeps pulling in recruiting classes and players like Travis Hunter, lights out, dude. They could be absolutely brutal in the Big 12 whenever they move there next year. So get it in now because it's the freight train's coming.
Now, Deion did say after the game, he said, in quote, it was a good old-fashioned butt kicking. So props to Coach Prime for being a leader and owning up to it. He took the loss, basically saying, hey, you can't win them all. They were better than us today, and we got to improve and be better. So great mindset for a college coach and a leader, but so you guys really don't think fighting for clicks at all? There's some truth to that. The only reason I say this too is because I want to mention Deion actually has a social media guy at Well Off Media. You can look him up on YouTube, and he makes basically a reality show is what I'd call it, a little bit of a vlog type of style. He follows the team. He follows Deion everywhere they go. I mean, his son, the quarterback on the team, even has his own YouTube channel with clickbait-worthy content. I think there's a little bit of truth to this. I mean,
Absolutely.
But no matter what, wherever Deion goes, there's going to be headlines. It's an interesting topic. It's one of the more interesting topics that there have been in college football.
Look, why does Deion get attention? He was a 2-sport athlete. He was really freaking good at both sports, right? 2, he talks. And 99% of the time, he backs up his talk. When they don't, he owns it. Like I said, I've said this before. He's a great coach, great motivator, great leader, and good leaders hold themselves accountable when their team doesn't show up. But when you look at like offensive line versus defensive line and that type of game, just the speed on the field is not comparable. So, like, do I think they fight for clicks? I mean, yeah, sure. But I think every single team in the world is trying to get some sort of social media presence for recruits, for boosters, all that stuff. So I don't necessarily feel it's a bad thing. Like De Palma said, we're in this world, right? And if that means that that's what he has to do to get NIL money and all that type of stuff, that's fine. But I will reiterate this: when they move to the Big 12, and he's getting Power 5 athletes, and he's stealing recruits from the Bamas, the LSUs, the Auburns, the Miamis for that matter, like the Florida States, all that stuff, you're going to see a completely different Colorado team.
Yeah, this school has definitely made a lot of money this season just from him alone and all the hype. So they're getting their money's worth.